Before we jump into the full video for today, I just want to let you guys know that currently my G Fuel code Immortal is boosted to 30% off on pretty much everything on the site. From now through the 16th, you can get 30% off your entire order by using code Immortal at checkout. So if you do want to stock up prior to the crossplay weekends or even the full release of MW, or you simply want to try out G Fuel for the very first time, now is easily the best time to do so. And now on to the regular video. The Modern Warfare multiplayer beta is officially here for those on PS4 who pre-ordered the game, with the open beta and eventually the crossplay beta to follow. And obviously this is the first time that pretty much everyone is able to experience what the regular multiplayer feels like. Now, since this is a beta, of course, we're not able to access absolutely everything that the game has to offer. You know, there are some guns, perks, modes, and plenty of maps that we won't be able to try out until the full game drops later in October. However, for a beta, we do have a pretty decent amount of things available at our disposal, with a few ARs, a couple SMGs, and a handful of other weapons all unlockable once the level cap is increased. And per usual, we have a few maps varying in size, and also a few modes to experience as well. But really, everyone's main focus is going to be on the weapons themselves, and which ones really stand out from the rest. Now, I gotta say, because our sample size is a bit more limited than it is in the full game, I'd say there is less of a gap in between the best and the worst weapons. However, through my hours spent on the game so far, I think I found 3 setups that really perform the best in-game. So today we're breaking down the 3 best classes to use in Modern Warfare. But before we jump into that, if you are new here, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you can stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty. Also, if you guys enjoy the video or if you find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like rating on it. And now let's get into the best setups to use in the MW beta. So right away, I will say most weapons in this game feel extremely different once you start leveling them up. It really is a night and day difference when using a naked level 1 weapon and when you're using a weapon kitted out with various attachments. So that said, when I first started using some of these weapons today, I was sitting there thinking, yeah, this weapon is trash. But after I started leveling it up some, things definitely got better, so you'll have to grind out some weapon levels to make these ideal setups, but once you do, it'll definitely be worth it. So the first setup we have here today revolves around the M4A1, which is actually the very first weapon you unlock once you reach level 4 and gain access to create a class or loadout customization. And honestly, I'm just going to go out and say it. The M4A1 is the best weapon in the game as of right now. There's no competition. The M4 shines above everything else. Maybe it's going to get nerfed in the future, maybe it's not, but as it stands right now, the M4A1 is utterly dominant in nearly every kind of engagement. Now, with most of these setups, the weapon itself is not going to get you 40 kills every game. You do have to be decent, and more often than not, it's really a combination of the player's skill and the weapon's strength that makes any given gun feel quote-unquote overpowered. So using this is not going to grant you chopper gunners instantly, but with good recoil control and strong aim, this gun is really good. I currently have my M4A1 maxed out at weapon level 30, and I feel like it wasn't really until the higher ranks of 24, 25, 26, kind of around that area, that I really found the setup that I liked the best with this. And that setup consists of 5 attachments in total, that being the short barrel, which offers increased aim down sight speed and increased movement speed in exchange for a decrease in bullet velocity and recoil control, which you might think is less than ideal, dropping down your accuracy and range. But truthfully, between tap firing at long distances and focusing in on aiming for the upper body and head, the damage output on this gun at any range is pretty solid. After that, I use an optic, and this is where personal preference and playstyle comes a bit more into play, as I like to use the standard operator reflex sights, but the combat hollow sight is also a pretty good choice too. For the red dot, if your playstyle is more close range based and a little more aggressive, that'll probably work better for you. If you're more passive and you play a bit slower, the hollow sight might be the better option since it does offer a bit more range and accuracy. Then I also have the heavy stock equipped, which offers increased idle sway control and aiming gun steadiness in exchange for a decrease in aim walking movement speed. So this really is not your typical stock, which normally increases your ADS strafe speed, but this does make it a bit easier to stay on target in those longer range fights, in my own opinion, with the pros that it offers. I then like to use the vertical foregrip since I found that the vertical recoil was the most noticeable when holding down the trigger on this weapon in specific. I would say the horizontal recoil really wasn't too noticeable for me, and I'd rather not drop my aim walking move speed any lower, leaving the vertical foregrip as the best option for my playstyle. Then finally, and probably most importantly, I use the frangible wounding weapon perk, which causes bullets to delay your enemy's healing, which is a big factor in this game, where health really is so valuable and healing is way slower than it was in BO4. As far as the rest of the class goes, the remainder stays the same for every single setup I use, and that consists of the 50 GS secondary, a perk setup of double time, hardline, and shrapnel, a semtex, and also a flash grenade, but that can all be adjusted as you see fit. Moving on to the second best weapon that I've been using a lot, that is going to be the AK47. And to be honest, when I first started using the AK, I thought it was garbage. I did not like it whatsoever at level 1. With its recoil and the iron sights, I felt like long distance kills were way too hard, and I was not a fan of the weapon whatsoever. But I forced myself to use it, and over time, as I leveled it up a bit more, I really started to like the weapon a lot more. Now, I am currently only weapon level 24 here, and honestly, I'm pretty content with the setup that I have, so you don't necessarily have to go all the way up to max rank for this one. And once again, here I am using 5 attachments on this setup because, well, honestly, why not? The first attachment is going to be muzzle brake, which offers some better recoil control in exchange for worse aiming gun steadiness and also worse aim down sight speed. But honestly, the recoil control is a must on the AK if you ask me, especially if you're one who sprays with it. I then use the combat hollow sight, frankly because I like how it looks, and I found the AK to be a lot better at range since it definitely feels a lot heavier than the M4. So the AK is my weapon of choice for a slower playstyle, whereas the M4 excels when you're more aggressive. So essentially there, the hollow sight gives me some increased accuracy and also a bit more range for that playstyle. I then use the heavy stock here as well for the same reasons as before, and same deal goes for the frangible wounding perk too. Then the most important part of the AK setup in my mind comes with the bipod, which you might think is a weird attachment to use, and honestly I thought so too, but its recoil management assistance is extraordinary. However, in order to take advantage of that increased recoil control, you do have to be crouched or prone. So I found myself doing a lot of crouching and also a lot of drop shotting with this setup, but when you compare the recoil when you're standing up to when you're crouched, the difference is pretty significant. But at the end of the day, honestly, I do still prefer the M4 over the AK. Then finally, the third best setup that I've been rocking quite a bit revolves around the MP7. Here once again, I do use the muzzle brake as my first of the 5 attachments for the same reasons as before, and then I like to use the laser sight too. Personally, I've been using the 1MW laser sight since I am only weapon level 23 as of right now, and honestly that one has worked just fine. I do find myself doing quite a bit of hip firing with this setup since I am rushing around a lot more, so the laser sight definitely comes in handy there. I then prefer to use the LP945 mini reflex sight since I know I'm going to be playing close range with this weapon as is, so the need for a hollow or a longer range sight I don't really feel is totally necessary, and also I just like the feel of that sight in specific. I also use frangible on this setup, however I use the disabling version of it, which slows the enemy's movement and briefly disables super sprint when shooting their legs, so essentially you can limit your enemy's sprints and overall movement with this weapon perk, which is key when you are engaging in long range fights since you will need to hit a lot more shots since this is an SMG. Then finally, I use the angled foregrip, which helps with horizontal recoil, as I feel like the vertical recoil is pretty controllable as is. So there you guys have it. Those are my 3 favorite setups to use in the MW beta as of right now. But of course, as I get more playtime and also as we get more weapons available to unlock and use, my favorites might change a bit here and there. But have no fear, we are going to be covering plenty of class setups this year with all the customization that we have available through the gunsmith. With all of that being said though, that is effectively going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video or if you found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you are brand new here to the channel and you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. As I mentioned in the intro, code Immortal is currently boosted to a 30% discount over on gfuel.com, So if you do want to restock your favorite flavor, pick up a shaker cup, or simply try out a starter pack, now is the best time to do so thanks to that increased discount. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.